If this is all EA was going to show, having EA Play so far away from E3 was simultaneously a decision of pure genius and incredible stupidity. I wasn't expecting much from it, and yeah, they met my floor level expectations. You can probably take from that I wasn't happy with EA Play. Best I can say about the show is that the obvious positives of Battlefield 2042's Portal mode and Xavier Woods as host, but the rest of the show nearly bored me to tears, and it would have if not for the fact because it was boring me, because of that made me a little mad. This E3 looking presentation felt fucking far from an E3 presentation and only seemed to emulate last year's event, and that's a worrying trend. Does it make sense to keep having these as they focus more and more on investor language? Yes, that doubling down comment was for them and makes sense in that context, trust me, the investment management degree holder here. They seem to have lost any flair for speaking to the fans, at least directly. Everything now feels like you have to go to the specific game or franchise outlets to hear updates, and that's okay and all, but if your franchise doesn't have an active game, it seems like you can't trust EA proper to come up with any messages of excitement. Not a smidge of excitement either, as the drudged up, done to death, corporate and cold, and at this point stale way of presenting games was used to reveal all of EA's mediocre games for the year. Are the games actually mediocre? I don't know, and this presentation certainly didn't help that. Okay, that's a lie. Battlefield looks cool, but I suspect I only know that because I'm following the game. There was effectively no new gameplay, technically, especially if you're not following the game. Sure, new assets and pretty important ones at that was shown, and the idea was clear. I'll give them that. I mean, it almost felt like an Apex plus Battlefield event, featuring some unimportant things here and there. My main point being, it felt more like an upsell of hype. It would have done very little to convince someone who's seen the game in depth for the first time. Like I said, I'm following DICE along with their new game. You know what I'm not following? All the other games there. And I can confidently say none of their appearances on the EA Play stage will make me follow them with any sort of interest. It was such a tired format. The game seemed generic. Talking to the developers was cute, but it was clear it was the cost of any marketable or exciting gameplay. EA revealed that every single arcadey racer is theirs now, and they will not stop themselves from shoving their incredibly cringy FIFA Madden Sports story modes in all of them. At least the new green screen killer technology is spreading, so that's nice. I wanna like Lost at Random, but something just seems off. Like, I don't know, but I will say the world design and characters all look incredibly generic for the style that they're from, and the combat also doesn't look too hot, but that card mechanic, which they only focus on at the end, maybe it's saving grace and does look interesting. All FIFA's new gameplay trailer did was show us the absolutely incredible work of the motion graphics team, for the trailer that is. Just look at those numbers wisp around as smoke around the players. Incredible stuff. If you think anything will feel substantially different in 22 than in 21, then oh boy, do I have a bridge to sell you. I know Madden fans have been kicking up their grievances more and more lately, so sports game remain in that weird position where its popularity will never diminish, but the discord might be a little too hot from some hardcore fans. So EA treads lightly as to not ignite something too dangerous, as we've seen them do before. Reading about how underwhelmed I was is dandy and all, but what does it mean for EA Play? Well, how about we try to predict the future? But first, let's gander into the past. The first sign this was not going to have the energy of E3 to me was seeing that no one else was hyped. Within the Star Wars community, we already knew that Star Wars was not going to be there. The Battlefield community knew something big but not major was going to be there, on account that 2042 had already done its job at E3, and Apex players already knew about the new character as mentioned by the pre-show host. Outside the community, no, and I mean none of the creators that I watched that covered E3 and the state of play even hinted at covering this. Not even a post-mortem. You would have sworn EA wanted to fly under the radar by the overall reaction before the event had even kicked off. It seems EA has divorced whatever E3 is now. Nothing indicates or signals any sort of intent with EA these days. Almost everything they seem to do these days is either insular within the game, studio, franchises community, or incredibly understated, as we saw just how silently this presentation went by. It is a shame really, for a number of reasons, but I think I can sum it up with an alternative event as I leave this video. This time, EA Play lands just before the major press conferences, just as it had done in the past. No pre-show hosts, just flashes of already announced side content and upcoming expansion. Then it starts. First up, a show-stopping showcase from the newest entry in their most known franchise they have the license for, Star Wars. In this case, it will be Jedi Fallen Order 2. Fantastic. Next, to calm things down, but keep the quality high, they show off the newest Apex character's abilities in a short segment, making sure it does not drag on too long. Now, the charismatic host hops on stage to rally the crowd out for the ultimate slugfest that is the contractually obligated sports games. It's short, to the point, and it points the community for support and where further information can be found. Now a quick announcement for the next racing game from one of the heavy hitters of arcade racing games, either Burnout or Need for Speed, from one of its most beloved developers. Then we head into this truly mind-blowing expansionist mode for EA's upcoming shooters, a mode that lets you create almost any scenario you can think of and lets you share it with the community as well. Okay, that basically is Battlefield Portal, so good job EA. Maybe in a better presentation it would have gotten the praise it deserves, but I digress. Now, one of the biggest bombshells of all, another Star Wars game is being worked on. Not much to go on yet, but they just have to tell us it's on its way. Just like how they announced Fallen Order. Boom! Star Wars Battlefront 3. Man, what that would do for the community and FPS fans as well. Anyway, to calm things down, the excellent indies with all the creative freedom they love to generally mention show off their games in the best light thanks to experts from EA showing them how to do it. Finally, the show ends with the charismatic host thanking everyone and then prepping them for the one last thing moment, Dead Space. Just like how it was in the presentation, but at least some effort to mention how some of Visceral's team ended up at Motive and are working on the game.